Gizzo!
Oh, surprise, Izzo. A little pause, little.
Little hello everybody. Just to let y'all know, no updates this week because we got a jam-packed episode. And we will be joined later by none other than Working Families Party extraordinaire, Salaah Muhammad, to talk about what everybody was tweeting that they wanted to hear us talk about, the 2024 presidential debate between Kamala Harris and former President Trump. Excuse me, put some respect on her name, Vice President Kamala Harris, and former President Trump, also convict. All right, let's get into pop culture. Starting off, Beyonce ain't got no CMA nominations.
Dang. I was surprised by that.
Were you?
I was surprised. Yeah, I really was.
Wow. What did you expect, Queen?
I expected her to get nominated for it. She made an incredible country album.
That was number 1 on the country charts.
That was explicitly, centered around, well, she said point blank, y'all ain't invite me. I got kicked out, and now I'm created this remarkable revenge album because
I am actually
got
country.
Me fucked up. Yeah, and they were like, "No, you're not."
They was like, "Boo! You tried to put us in a corner.
They said
you wanted people to think that we were racist. Well, guess what? We know we are, and we're still not giving you shit.
Yeah, the fuck you think this is, Saudi?"
I wasn't surprised. I didn't expect her to get a CMA nomination, honestly. The way they acted when the album came out and the radio stations were saying this ain't country, we ain't playing it. And then they kind of forced their hand to play it because everybody was streaming it and talking about it. And then I was like, I don't know this, but were the country stations playing it, like all of them, or was it the pop stations playing it? And honestly, it didn't have.
Stations weren't even playing all of it.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it didn't even have the airtime that I thought it would, because I think the Kendrick, we'll get into him, the Kendrick and Drake beef kind of stifled it a little bit. Everybody was like, "Cowboy, what?" But it was a shame.
And I took that personally. Little do you know, Beyonce, it's just like Michael Jordan, and that's going to come out with a rap album next. And I took that personally.
Oh my God! What if she did a rap album for Act 3? Yeah, I'll be more surprised if the Grammys ignore her. Just because they seem to have a better relationship. She doesn't have the best relationship with the CMAs, but I feel like she set out to do what she wanted to do. It was to do an album that she felt like she loved, that she does love, not felt like, she loves it. She said it's probably her best work. And to also give all these other artists exposure, which she did. Shabuzi is out here with nominations. She laid the groundwork for them to be seen, and hopefully she's pleased by that,
That's a strong statement. She didn't. I mean, maybe for that artist in particular, but she didn't lay the groundwork for country artists to be.
I didn't say country artists.
Oh, you're talking about those
and the
folks
people that she
featured?
featured on the album. That's what I'm specifically talking about, is that she made it so you cannot ignore us. You can't ignore us anymore. And she helped take back the history of it a little bit. At least I had no idea the extent in which Black and brown folks were involved in country. I'll be honest, I really didn't. And so that was a learning opportunity for me. It made me more exposed to these new artists and even want to go back and research the older ones. So I feel like what she set out to do, she did. Fuck them CMAs.
I guess I think it feels like more of a slap in the face. I feel like that is incredulous that they didn't do that. That is blatant racism. You thought that was racism before? I think that is blatant racism. This was an opportunity for them to show some love, to have her back on the stage to perform. It could have been a real kumbaya, like, we see you, we heard you, come through with the come through. They doubled down and they did not bend the knee to Beyonce.
No.
They said, I would not bend the knee. Get the fuck out of here. Which is just damn. Anywho, the Grammys tricky.
I don't know if she gets album of the year for that, especially if Kendrick drops. because I feel like let's move on to Kendrick. I feel like they teeing Kendrick up. I'm just like, all right,
Who's they?
the industry, and
Okay.
rightfully so. I'm not saying that, it's not well deserved or Kendrick's team is planning this
Okay.
in a way that is just strategically brilliant. You got the Super Bowl. Everybody's been talking about how he's working on his album. It's not lost on me. It's September 12th right now. September 13th is the anniversary of Tupac's death. He dropped, some of the other tracks on Tupac's birthday. It just feels like maybe we get an album fairly soon, maybe even tomorrow after this is recorded, then I'll be mad.
Interesting.
And then it's like he's on the Super Bowl, right? Halftime show now. We'll talk about that announcement. And then he's teasing us with this new music where he's condemning the industry, where I don't even know if there's a song title for that. He dropped it on his Instagram. And then right after that is the Grammys. It's like,
it's the Kendrick conspiracy theory.
it's not a conspiracy theory. I think it's smart. I think that his team is planning this out. And I was under the impression that the Super Bowl artists weren't picked that early in advance. Then there were all these articles saying, no, they do this a year in advance. Like they're already planning next year. And I was like, oh, really?
I said that. Remember I said that? And you're like, no.
Yeah, I was like, no way. But I really didn't think that, because Rihanna has said that when she got the call, she was kind of like shocked because she was hiding that, or not hiding. It wasn't out that she was pregnant. So she was like, oh, I'm still going to do it. But what the fuck? And I was like, well, you wouldn't have been pregnant a year ago. But I don't know. Hey, who knows?
She had a little bump. Remember, it was a little one. Remember, we were like, is she? We were like, oh.
Everybody was like, oh, she didn't lose her pregnancy weight. She was like, no, idiots, I'm pregnant. Anyway, how do we feel? What do you think about Kendrick? How do we feel?
I was
Are we
hyped
excited
to hear about that he got this about the Super Bowl. I was very excited, very hyped for him. I have to say I didn't listen to his new song, unfortunately.
For real?
No.
Why?
I listened to a little bit. I don't know. I listened to a little bit and then I just turned it off because I don't know why.
Y'all want to shake y'all ass so bad.
No, I just didn't feel. I didn't feel that one, to be completely honest with you. I didn't feel that. The beat didn't move me, and also he just cryptic Kenny is a thing. But now I'm to the point like, all right, well, I didn't even give it a listen to even know what he was talking about, to be completely honest. So maybe that's an unfair labeling of it. But I have to take some time to look at it, but I didn't. I'm fascinated though by the reaction of these niggas in the music industry in response to this. It's just, I forgot, it's Nicki Minaj as well, but Nicki Minaj is leading a pack. Cameron and Mace has things to say. But Cameron and Mace, Cameron said one person is stopping this. Lil Wayne had issues with Jay-Z before. Apparently Lil Wayne's artist is Drake. Boom, there goes the big conspiracy. Ooh. They called him a hater. They said that this is an inside knowledge that Jay, this reputation of Jay-Z, a dislike of Jay-Z. They said that there was some fanatics event that they were supposed to go to, but right when conspiracy goes, Jay-Z found out that they were invited. They were banned from it and blocked from it, and they just called him a hater. Nicki Minaj is pulled up clips in the past where there's a question. I don't know who's the host that does all of the housewives. The white guy, I don't know his name.
Andy Cohen.
Andy Cohen was like, "Who's the biggest asshole in the industry?" And Nicki is like, "There's two of them, and I can't. You'd be so surprised if I said his name, but I can't. And this was years ago, so Nicki been had beef with that nigga, but she's going off, And
she went off, and then she tried to reel it in. And it was like, girl, what?
Did she?
Yeah. She was like,
I ain't hardly see her
love and respect for Kendrick and Jay while also wanting Lil Wayne to be on. And it was like, wait, you just went crazy, girl. And now you're talking about you're both sides in it. And it's weird.
I didn't hear anybody hate on Kendrick. Like everybody was like, no, we love him. Respect to him. He deserved this moment. But also, I was shocked. Lil Wayne, I was like, oh. And then they were like, that's his city. I was like, oh, I guess. But it
That's
has to be some inside stuff that people must know that was like, oh. But also, really? Since when do we have to be loyal to the
city.
state or city that a big artist is like from? I don't get it. I don't get it.
Can I
But I
ask you
can
a
see that
question?
Jay-Z's probably an asshole and probably done some shit. You don't get to be where he is, who he is by
Is it by what? You're not ever going to appeal to everyone and make everyone happy
that's
when
what
you're in the
Jay-Z said.
positions of power. Okay? It's possible he's an asshole. It's also very possible that people are butthurt and mad because he's in a position of power and he's wielding it. Jay also wielded power when he became, when he was on the label and Def Jam and stuff and was blocking money for people hating. Okay. All that said, I could see if it was an artist that like didn't deserve it, but it's Kendrick. So it's like, what are we even talking about? The Super Bowl halftime performance show is going to the person in hip hop who arguably had the best year of his career and of, well, not of his career, but of anybody. So I get
Yeah,
that people wanted it to be Wayne, but have you seen a Little Wayne performance?
I've seen what you've been posting recently, and I'm just shocked. I'm
That
shocked and confused, and I feel a little concerned.
well, one, Little Wayne, he performed at Beyonce's Renaissance. Sorry, I thought the dog was eating something. He performed at Beyonce's Renaissance
Really?
um before she came out. Yes, girl, look up the clip, and it's a mess. And I saw it and was like, "What the? Thank you, Jay-Z. This was his audition, and he failed. It was terrible. You couldn't understand that he just running around the stage. There's no performance quality outside of like the nostalgia of the music. And I'm not hating on Little Wayne, but I don't see him giving a performance that one is going to move the Super Bowl halftime show audience. Like, I just don't see it, including me. Like, I just play
This
the
is
music
Kendrick's
on the
moment.
radio.
It makes
Right.
sense.
And this is Kendrick Lamar, who already played the Super Bowl as a a sideman, but set that shit off. Set it off. Had the choreography, was doing his thing, like has the breath
True.
control. Like, what are we doing?
He's
Little
a
Wayne, God
performer.
bless him. Is his health even like Little Wayne hasn't been well? And there's
Oh,
all these reports coming out about how even for the Grammys, there was somebody who came out and was like, I worked the Grammy show. Bull never showed up to not one rehearsal. We didn't know if it was going to happen. And 5 minutes before the set, he just ran out on stage and was doing his thing. We were like, oh. And it was chaotic and weird. So
and
this
who's to
isn't,
say he's not going to come on? You know what I mean? Kendrick portrays himself to be a stand-up guy, so we'll see how he
I mean,
politics this. We'll see
he,
how he does it.
he also portrays himself to be somebody who's like very professional and has a little more substance. I just got to say it than Little Wayne. It would have been fun, but like, eh.
I don't know if
Also,
substance
Little
is
Wayne
the
cozies
criteria
up.
for the Super Bowl, though. You know,
Yeah, no, like
I don't
Little
think it is.
Wayne cozies up to Donald Trump. Like, are we forgetting about his comments on Black Lives Matter? And again, this is the problematic ass NFL we're talking about. So let's not get it twisted. I also think it might be an opportunity for Kendrick to actually do some shit that comments on that you know
Yeah,
I
depending
would
on
be
what the album
so
drop
much
is.
more
Yeah,
interested in what he comes up with, and
then
then
yeah,
being able to sit and pull it apart and see the symbolism and be excited by that. Even his
yeah.
announcement, there was all kinds of gems in there. So it's just like, God bless Lil Wayne. I understand. I think people are really disappointed because he also expressed a lot of interest in it, in doing it. And so he's disappointed.
Jay
But
Z said no. It's not your time, kid. Sit on a bench. Call you when you're ready, if ever.
Jay-Z was right. He really was.
Jay-Z
Y'all
like,
go Google
what you
some
want
of
me
the
to
clips.
do? I'm sorry. Jay-Z right now. What you want me to do? I'm sorry.
Go Google the clips, y'all. Wayne not the one for the Super Bowl. This outrage is from other stuff.
Jay-Z also said on a Hot 97 interview, he said, everyone who says shit about me, it's because I didn't do something for them. Okay? It ain't about what I did. It would cut
About
them. I
what I
didn't do
didn't
something
do.
for you, so now you mad at me. What you want me to do? Oh,
Whatever.
Jay-Z, tricky, complex
I'm not
Sagittarius.
mad at Jay-Z. I'm not. And I don't think he's tricky or complex over this. I think this is a slam dunk decision. I think it's a decision that makes complete
No, that's
sense.
not what
And
I'm
we're being
implying. But
foolish to
no,
even
I'm not
think
implying
otherwise.
that. I think, but the industry's reactions, people's reaction didn't come from nowhere. Where there's smoke, there's a fire. You know what I mean? Maybe this isn't the situation that is exemplifies it, but I wouldn't be surprised if, Jay-Z.
Well, the fact that he
He
even
pissing
has
people
the
off.
deal with the NFL is weird, right? People mad about that. Like, bro, Beyonce presented Colin the award at the ESPYs, and they were all behind the kneeling. And then, like, the next year, they was like, yeah, we got to deal with the NFL. Also, apparently, Jermaine Dupri was supposed to do that, and he called Jay to ask him about it because it was during all the hoopla. And Jay was like, yeah, don't do that. Bad
And then
idea.
Beyonce did it?
No,
Do what?
the NFL called Jermaine Dupri, supposedly, according to him, to do the role, to do the MD to make the
fucked up.
decisions. And Jay was like, yeah, nah, don't do that.
No,
It's not
that's
a good look.
crazy.
You can't do that. You don't want to partner with them. And then the next year was like,
See?
yeah, I'm partnering with the NFL.
Tricky.
So
Tricky.
I mean, I don't know, but
Where there's
fuck
smoke,
it.
there's
We
fire.
got
But shout out
Kendrick.
to him. We got Kendrick. Good work by you, Jay.
Okay. Also, Shannon Sharp. Are you up to speed on this?
No, and I don't care at all.
Can I just tell you? Do you know
have
Shannon?
no desire.
Do you know who Shannon Sharp is, though?
Yes.
Or you know Uncle Shay. And you know that he, like, I don't want to say 58, something like that, 52, 58, right?
52, 58. That's crazy.
Something like that. He looking for his age. Shannon was trending on Twitter, and everybody was like, oh my God, Shannon Sharp. So I looked, and Shannon was having sex.
You saw the live?
No, you
in
can't
real time?
see it. It's like,
I know, but it was real time that you.
It was real time, and I said, oh. And I think the thing that was getting people the most was that Shannon is one of those people that's like, come here, and he's growling in it. He's talking about, take this, good girl, Michelle, like all the things that we say we want to hear. And I was like, listen.
People saying it's staged. I did hear that.
I don't think it was staged. He also went on live with Ocho Cinco, and was like, it's seemingly mortified. Like he just kept talking about how embarrassed he was. He said, I'm not even gonna sit here and act like my phone was hacked. The good guy on my team, because he's a good soldier and he wanted to protect me, wrote that. So I appreciate that. They immediately wrote that. He was like, I don't know how to work a phone. I can't believe that happened. I tell you what, next time the phone be in the car. And he was like, this is an honest mistake. Like, he was on live having sex, and all we heard was the audio. And thank God his social media manager saw he was trending and hurried up and somehow went in his thing and turned and disabled the live. Like, he still had no idea. He said that he was during the act getting called, like, and afterwards kept getting all these FaceTime calls. And he was like, from people who I don't even FaceTime. Like, it was weird for them to even reach out to me, because I'm like, what's wrong with these people? And so then when he realized what happened, he was like, I was just mortified. Now, this is on the heels of another. So he works for ESPN now on First Take. He's a commentator. And, they fired people on ESPN for less. Okay.
Did they fire him?
No, We haven't heard any firings, but he was like, I don't apologize for, being a consenting adult that's doing adult things. I'm horrified. This was a mistake. I take full responsibility for my mistake. I'm not going to say, if this person's done X and so I should be let off. Like, whatever the repercussions are, I'll take that. I'll have to own that. And was really humble. But then on the live, he couldn't resist. He couldn't resist the urge to brag on his dick. And I was like, and they were making these jokes, I think, to make him feel better. But Ocho was like,
In the live, he was doing that, or after the commentary about
afterwards,
the
the
wife?
other live where he was apologizing. He did
Oh.
like an emergency episode. No, in the live, he was bragging on his dick too, girl. He was saying, listen, they're not gonna agree with me here. But I was like, I don't want Uncle Shay, but I ain't mad
Uncle
at
Shay
what
could
Uncle
get it.
Shay's saying.
Not
Okay,
Uncle
that's
Shay
the
could get it.
energy. That's the energy. Okay, people were disgusted with me when I wrote that. It was like, girl, listen, I wasn't mad, but I was a little like, yo, you're negating the accountability that you're having for this incident by like having a bunch of bro moments where like, you got to brag on like, I be in that shit though, Ocho,
He's still a nigga.
I'm
That's
old.
why
Like he's
niggas
still,
go on nigga.
he couldn't get out of that. I'm like,
Niggas go
come
on
on,
nigga.
Shannon. It was funny though, because there were all these rumors that he was gay, because there was this weird
That's what people
picture.
are saying. Yeah,
And
that
people
he's.
were like, I'm glad it was Michelle and not Michael, whatever. But that was wild.
People are saying that it was staged because of those claims that he
I
was like.
know. I don't think that he would risk that though. Like I really don't. Like he has so much going for him. He said the first person that he talked to was Cat Williams. Cat Williams was like, "What the fuck is you doing?" And the Cat Williams was like, "Well, I'm glad." He was the first person that said that. I'm glad it's not Michael and it's Michelle. I tell you that. Like laughing, but he said he got a scolding from Deion Sanders who called him. So like, I don't know. It's tricky. But like, if you were to accidentally go live while having sex,
give me a clap.
like what can you do if it's an honest mistake? I mean, he's an older man, and Ocho was saying like he's terrible with technology. That's why he got all them people in his room. He can't even do this show without a staff of people showing him what to do.
I believe that.
Yeah, like
what do you say? Like all you can say is my bad. Sorry. I hope I sound good. I hope it sound like a good time. Like the most mortifying thing is if it sound terrible. But if it sound like a good time for all the consenting adults, like
she sound like she's having a great time.
She sound like she was enjoying it.
She was enjoying it.
Shay.
She was enjoying it. He said he was the back shot king. He said nobody was hurt. She might need an ice pack, but she all right. And I was like, all right, ridiculous.
I don't like it. I would love to hear. That's what I want to hear. I don't want to see celebrities have sex. Let me hear him. What it sound like?
You should listen to it.
I don't want to hear him. No desire.
Why?
Absolutely,
because he's older.
I don't. Something about Shay Shay.
And what is it? I want to know.
I don't like to watch his shows very much. I have no interest in Shay Shay. I apologize.
Well, I will say the last thing that he did with Marlon Wayans was incredible.
I gotta watch that.
Absolutely incredible.
I gotta watch that.
It made me like, yo, the Wayans family, they deserve a lot more respect than what we given them. Mm-hmm. Because I encourage everybody to watch that. And finally, sadly, I feel like we're doing this every week. We're at that age. We have to say rest in peace to Frankie Beverly, and James Earl Jones. Frankie Beverly, the Philly great. And James Earl Jones,
handsome man, wasn't he? Oh, that little mole! I love a man with a mole on the cheek.
Ooh. He was cute his whole life. To me, he ain't never get ugly.
Good.
70, I was like, ooh.
70. What was he? 75, 74?
3, something like that.
Young.
I still think that's young.
That's very young.
James Earl Jones, on the other hand, 93.
He lived a long life. James
James is
had a lot
tricky.
of tricky things. Women was like,
I did
oh,
not know he was tricky.
that he hated black women.
Yeah, you say that crazy. Did he hate them? First of all, I posted a tweet like, "Oh my god," from the theater point of view, like legend. This man like started out with a stutter, like he overcame so much. He's
Oh, really?
like
I didn't know
a
that.
Oh yeah, he started out with that voice, started out with a stutter, and like
Wow, God is
he's a
good.
theater god.
Yeah.
And then Van texted me a video of him talking about why he don't date black women, and I was like, "What the?" A young video of him, and then another one when he was a little older. I said, "Oh my god, I had
They
no
don't fuck with
idea."
him. Quincy Jones don't either. What?
No, but I
They
knew
never
that
say
about
it.
Quincy. I didn't know
They
that
don't
about
negate
Mufasa.
it.
I didn't.
I don't
That's
negate the
crazy.
king's talent. He just ain't fuck with the black woman. The babe. That's crazy.
You knew
Rest
that
in-
already?
no, I learned it as well. I did not know that.
That's a
I was like,
shame.
oh,
If I die and then people bring up all the shit that they're frustrated with me about or they didn't like about me, I would be so sad.
really?
Like we gotta wait a week. I feel like
That's
unless it was
interesting. What's the
egregious.
protocol? What's the protocol?
Unless
Yeah.
I'm like Harvey Weinstein or something or Netanyahu, yeah, Dick Cheney,
Yeah.
talk your shit. Y'all deserve it.
Okay.
Hitler,
All right.
but like, damn. Especially if I did other great things. I mean, Sidney Poitier.
Ooh,
Did
say
we
that
do the
again.
same thing?
Say that again. How you say it?
I gotta go. You get on my nerves. For
Whoa.
real. You get
Girl.
on my nerves.
Talented.
Poitier. Now, I don't even know if I said that right. Sit here. Juicy mouthed it, talking.
Yuck.
Well, what was your
Anyhow.
favorite James Earl Jones? Just real fast. What was your favorite?
Girl. Star Wars.
Luke.
Did you fun fact? Are you ready? You know how much he got paid for the first Star Wars?
A little bit. Then he got a lot.
$7,000. You know how long it took him to record his stuff?
How long?
Like a couple hours. He did 1 day of work, of voiceover work for the first Star Wars. That was it.
Well, that man
said that the director hit him up, was like, "Yo, you try to make some money, and do some voiceover work. 1 day of work, $7,000." He was like, "All right, cool." Came in, and then it was fucking Darth Vader's Star Wars. Could you imagine?
Good for him. Lucky man. I wish I was a white woman in his periphery at that time to help reap some of those rewards.
Did you just say you wished you were a white woman? We're logging off.
To be white woman around
James Earl. Oh boy.
During that time. He was trying to get wifed up. Anyway. All right, y'all.
You want to sing and take us to a break?
We'll be right back.
You don't want to sing anymore, huh? No.
Is that what you just got from that?
I don't know. I can't tell anymore. I'm asking you. That's why I'm asking you.
Gonna drive a husband crazy. You don't like that anymore? What? Where you get that from?
Because you did like.
I didn't say it enthusiastically.
That hurt my feelings. I gotta go.
I'm sorry.
We're gone. And you can keep all this in. Bye.
And we are back with a very special guest to talk about the most recent debate that everybody is talking about. We have Salaah Muhammad here with us today. What a returning guest. Okay. You were with us in the very, very beginning of the podcast. I can't remember the exact title of that episode, but you ain't new to this. You were true to this. And I'm going to let you, intro yourself and tell everybody who you are and what you do out in these Pennsylvania streets, okay?
Thank you. It's a pleasure being here. I'm not new to this, but I'm also just a fan of y'all. So I'm gonna just say that too. But Salaah Muhammad, I am the Pennsylvania organizing director for the Working Families Party. I do so many things. I've worked on so many elections over the last few years. I've worked on a lot of social justice work. One of the things that I've been pumping my chest about was my work last year in Pittsburgh, getting the first Black Church of Pittsburgh reparations, corporate reparations at that, which I love.
Okay.
We were able to get them 1.5 acres of land returned back to them from the Pittsburgh Penguins hockey team.
Wow.
And a lot of my work is steeped in how we build community, how we are in relationship with each other as our organizing apparatus, not just to win elections, not just to like, of course, to come up with these like social justice wins, but also what gives us governing power and gives us power back to people to create the policy that we want to see. And so it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of stress. It's a lot of clownery and fuckery, which is we're about to get into. But I wouldn't do it for anybody else but my people. So I love it.
Oh, no, that's right. That's what's up. Well, very honored to have you here. Obviously, we're going to talk about the debate, as Shanti teed that up. I just want to make sure everyone watched the debate here.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Definitely. I felt like it was the Super Bowl. I felt like this time around, people were really like tuned in, like what is going to happen. I was live tweeting. So I just want to start and ground us because I'm not going to assume how folks felt about the debate, but I want to hear some general thoughts, very general, high level thoughts of the debate itself. Salaah, you could start, Shanti, and then I'll go.
Going in, I expected Trump to be Trump. I expected some, this white man to come with some buffoonery. I expected Kamala Harris to, check him, but I didn't think it was I didn't expect to hear, eating cats and dogs. My mouth was on the floor for like a solid 15 minutes. It was just, she dragged him. Like she really dragged him. And I have a lot of critique for Vice President Harris, but she absolutely dragged that man. And so as like, I'm holding two of these things in my mind at the same time, which was one was like, clean him up, right? Mop the floor with him. But then the other is like, damn, she got to do this to this, wealthy, rich white man. And like, we got someone trying to be president, a former president, talk about eating cats and dogs. Like, so it's like joke, but laugh through the pain. Kind of. That's really what I felt through watching that debate.
Yeah. I felt in the very beginning, I was a little bit nervous for her. The first question, I felt her energy and I was like, oh God, what's going to happen? And I also noticed her avoiding a lot of the questions as well. And I was like, I was clocking that. And then like my critique or my really watching her shifted because that's who I was really going to observe versus Trump. Because to your point, like there was no swaying me, to support him or like to even be looking at him objectively. But his outrageousness even took it away, took my attention from her in a way. And similarly, I was kind of like, yeah, get him. Fuck it up because it was also so easy and he was just so outrageous. But I was also watching the way that she was slick and I both admired and didn't like her for that.
I love that you said that, Shanti, that you were looking at her to like see who she was and observe her because I feel like a lot of America they were being introduced to Kamala Harris, right? Even though like in my mind, I'm like, of course we know who Kamala Harris is, duh. Like she ran in 2020, she's been in Congress, all this stuff, but so many people don't. They don't really know her. And they don't know her temperament. They don't know her way. And I also was nervous for her in the beginning because I felt that she was nervous. I did appreciate that handshake, that she went into his space and said her name correctly. And he never said her name again. Like he never said it ever. Not even again. He never said it. But I appreciated that. I feel like Trump, of course he was outrageous. If you watch a rally, you know he's outrageous. But he fumbled this because it was his opportunity to paint a picture of who she was. She is a flawed candidate, right? Like all of them are, in a flawed administration where inflation is up, where um she didn't visit the border right away. Like that's this whole border czar thing is a thing in the Republican Party. And also you have her stance with Israel and Palestine. And he missed the mark in every way. It was a golden opportunity for him that he just floundered. And and I I felt badly for not him, but for the people who spent time trying to prep him for this, because I know they were watching it like, don't do it. Don't do it. Oh my God, you're going for the bait. Please don't. But I'll say this about her. She was surgical. She was surgical. It was the first time that I was really happy that she had that prosecutorial background. You saw it and you were like, oh shit. Like she must have been no joke in the courtroom. Like she did not play. She was precise. She baited him. I felt like she baited him, but also was able to fact check him and was also able to expose him while getting her point of view across, even if it wasn't super clear on policy. She likes to talk about like where her heart stands and, you know, where her values are. And I feel like we know where her values are, but not necessarily how she's going to get some of this stuff across. And then, lastly, I hate to bring this up, but as a Black woman, right, who's not mentioning really that she's a Black woman, everybody's mentioning it for her. She's refusing to even discuss it because she's like, fuck it, you know, like I'm just going to go out here as the best candidate, right? She was completely different in Congress. She was completely different in 2020 when she ran. She was aggressive, and I'm doing quotations. She was confrontational in her approach. She was like, you know, a lot of people saw her as a bitch, right? That was a lot of the feedback. And the way she towed the line of showing strength, of showing compassion, of showing concern, and even humility, I thought was masterful. That's so fucking hard to do. And it's required of women, and it's something that Hillary Clinton didn't do, and that's why it was so easy to create this nasty woman thing about her. And Trump just looked weak. He looked deranged. He looked impotent. He looked pitiful, in my point of view. So that's my high. That's supposed to be high level, but that's my high level.
Well, Hillary Clinton couldn't do it because she ain't Black. You know, she couldn't.
She don't have practice in it.
She ain't got practice in it, right? It's all transactional. God. It's all transactional in how they engage with it, right? And not to say that Kamala Harris isn't in ways, right? Most, and you know, almost all politicians are transactional, but it is different for white folks. When it is it is exacting, it is measurable. It's like, are we hitting all of the benchmarks, right? It's all the tactical. Whereas, like, you know, Black folks, we lead with our heart. We lead with that soul a little bit, a lot.
And that double consciousness, right? Of like, I can't show up too big. I have to be cognizant of how I'm impacting people in order for them to listen to me. And you're right. That isn't something that I think was on top of mind for Hillary at all.
Not at all. The other thing, though, is the moderators were like on point fact checking Trump. And I do want to like acknowledge that, because there were so many opportunities where he just either evaded the question or said something just like ridiculous. And they were able to just double down and double back and ask him again for clarity. And so that added to this level of like, there were moments where she didn't actually have to say anything, and she allowed him to just unravel at the seams because he was just so outrageous. Yeah. And he hung himself.
I'll say this, though. I think what we are perceiving as Trump's weaknesses may also double as his strength, because he also, in his belligerence, in the way that he's not as slick, I think to people that support him, it comes across as him being real, as him being authentic, as him not being, you know, so like all of the other politicians, and they don't necessarily care that the rhetoric that he's spewing is false. They just connect with this so-called authenticity that I feel is really, it's frustrating and it's scary. But I've heard a lot of people say that, oh no, he's real, she's fake, she's a politician, he's, you know, he speaks from his heart. And it's like, no, he's belligerent, dog. That's not the
I feel
same.
like that might be where strategy comes in, because you have to know that you're not going to appease and appeal to everyone. And I think that's where Kamala's like, his base is his base. I'm not going to get them. But the educated folks who can see through that, who are still, you know, undecided for whatever reason, who are still probably feeling it the most at the grocery store, feeling inflation, like not feeling confident, those are the people that I have to win over. And so I think that's where you just have to count your losses and know, like, the people that like that are going to like it.
When we talk about this, because I have a lot of folks that's actually out knocking doors, I have a lot of folks that's on the ground across Pennsylvania that's organizing in this election. When we talk about this, Trump is going to placate to his base. He's going to tap into that fear in ways that make them feel like, I'm connected to who he is, right? I'm connected to his success, or I'm connected to with his ideology. But it really is rooted in a fear of losing, a fear of the other, a fear of what is outside, right? Or what is not what they can't obtain, or what is coming for theirs. But there's a ceiling to that.
Take America back. It's
America
literally
back.
the slogan.
Right,
it's crazy.
Right. Make America great again, right? And so, but there's a ceiling to that support. It's big, right? We're talking, what was it? You know, close to 70 million people who voted for him last time. It's a big ceiling, but it is a ceiling that is shrinking as well. The alternative, though, right, with Kamala Harris, with the Democratic Party, is about enthusiasm. It's a different type of what needs to get tapped into. It's tapping into that hope. It's tapping into the possibility of building. And that is where the Democratic Party needs to zero in on, because there is so much more opportunity to build. There's a bigger umbrella that is included into talking to voters. And so the danger isn't about trying to, or the focus isn't necessarily convincing those Trump voters and connecting with those Trump voters. We should, because, you know, there is ways and emphasis on combating racism, sexism, xenophobia, all of that, right? But there is a limit to that persuasion, because they're gonna double down, right? There is opportunity of how do we tap into and encourage more Black voters to actually get out there and vote, right? Because that enthusiasm is real. It's not that they're going to vote for Trump. It's just that they're just going to stay home. The same with, unfortunately, white women, right? The same with white men, right? It's not that they're going to be excited about Trump or that they're going to be excited about Kamala Harris. They're just not going to vote for them, right? They're going to abstain. They're going to use their vote elsewhere. They might even skip the presidential line. And so that is what needs to get focused in on, so that we can encourage broader voter turnout, bigger voter turnout, reaching back to those levels in 2020, and not think that we're going to convince a Trump supporter to become a Kamala Harris supporter. That's never going to happen. But he also has a ceiling of what that support will look like, and that ceiling is constantly shrinking. It's not shrinking fast enough, and we'll see what it looks like in this election. But how can we broaden the base of our supporters and the folks that share our values, and show them that this is an opportunity to build, not that we're in love with Kamala Harris, because that's kind of weird, actually.
I want to ask, what are the strengths after watching the debate, right? If you were watching the debate, you didn't know anything about those two, or maybe not, I don't know. But I'm just talking about the debate specifically. What are the strengths and weaknesses of both candidates?
It's hard to find a strength in Donald Trump, honestly. I mean, the belligerence is right. He's tapping into both that belligerence and fear. And that is the strength that he's always tapped into since 2016, 2015. And that is going to, unfortunately, that attached to his wealth just gets him a certain level of support. And so there's a reason why he talked about eating cats and dogs. It's because people are actually believe it. It's because the right wing, the fringe actually do believe it, unfortunately. The weakness, obviously, is there's a limit to that. That people don't want to hear about a presidential candidate talk about eating cats and dogs. Talk about we're murdering babies after we're aborting babies after they're born. That sounds like a line from a sitcom. Yeah, right. We're executing. Like, come on, man.
Delivering the babies, and then the doctor takes the baby to decide what to do with it, is what he said. Like, are you insane?
Yeah, look, might be right. And so, like, there is a that limits that. You might be fearful of what's coming. You might be fearful, especially, the white folks, fearful of, someone coming across the border, in quotes. But when you hear that, you're like, whoa, I can't get down with that. Eating cats and dogs. The president talk about eating cats and dogs. That sounds too fantastical to be believable for the average person, right?
That wasn't even the one that took me out.
Which one took you out?
We'll get to it.
I think again that feels like the extreme, but then he throws in these subtleties about immigrants being criminals, and it is a strength. It plays to maybe, not the folks that believe the extreme of eating cats and dogs, but do believe the othering, that people of different races are actually a threat, and oh, by golly, this might actually be happening. And then seeing these kind of crazy things in the news, because that was in the news before he said it, you know what I mean? Like, that was in like the collective lexicon talking about immigrants and what's happening. I think that, again, that's a strength that he has, that it does appeal to those folks that have that fear and do believe, however subtly, however overtly, that is a possibility, and that there is this inherent criminality in immigrants and people of color. So yeah, again, he's tricky. He's really, really tricky in that way. I feel like, to your point, Antoinette, Kamala is a prosecutor, so she was very confident, very concise, and I really like that she felt like she was talking to us. She was like punching him in the face,
looking at him, right?
Yeah, she was like punching him in the face, socking him, and then like soothing us and being like, and it felt like, oh, it was masterful the way that she did that. And I feel like that was the first time that I experienced that in a long time from a presidential candidate, that they were actually talking to, she saw us, she heard us, and she had a way, however idealistic, however, had vague holes in it. It was like, but there is a way, and I can take you there, and we're going to go together, and I got you, and I see you, and I'm competent, and I'm strong, and I'm confident. And it was like that's half the battle, especially for Americans who have been constantly just in shock of the incompetence and scared to death of these, before it was Biden and then now Trump, of like the leaders that we have in front of us to choose from. So it felt like, it felt good, even if it was false, even if it wasn't real, if she was just talking her shit, it was like, oh, I needed that though. Raise me up a little bit.
I will say though, like, just to talk about some of her weaknesses in that moment, right? Like there was a huge organizing effort during the primary for folks to vote uncommitted for Biden, and she didn't really do a great job of bringing them into the fold. Let me rephrase that. She did a terrible job of bringing them into the fold around the genocide that's happening in Palestine. And so they've been toting the same line of calling for a ceasefire for months. She didn't really address the fact that Biden has been saying they're close to a deal. Where that deal coming? You've been saying that since like March, my guy. When that deal coming for a ceasefire, right? That wasn't really addressed. But then she also talked about the attack that Hamas did in Israel, which was horrible and horrific, but at the same time failed to mention some of the atrocities that's happening to Palestinians every day. Like completely failed, right? And so it just didn't feel if it failed to take account that the fact that this is a genocide, and actually calling it a genocide as what it is, right? This idea that you have to constantly say over and over and over again, Israel has a right to defend themselves and Israel has a right to protect themselves. Come on, man, that's obvious. That's not the argument here. The argument is you are telling people to evacuate an area and go to this area and then bombing it to shit, right? There are soldiers on the ground doing horrible things to women, to children, and we know that, to men, right? Like, we know all of these things, but you name only the atrocities that took place the day of the attack to the people of Israel, and it feels imbalanced, and it doesn't do justice of bringing in those folks who organize around Uncommitted, and it makes it harder to tap into that hope, right? What the Republican Party and what Trump tries to do is tap into that fear to bring people under their umbrella, and they do a fantastic job of doing that. The Democratic Party always is focused on hope, and she did that, right? Of I'm here to protect you. Let me protect you from the bad man, from the bad people. But in that moment, absolutely failed to do that, especially for Palestinian Americans, especially for Muslim Americans, especially for folks who just care about what this genocide is doing in Palestine.
I want to jump in here. I agree, as Antoinette agrees with everything that you just said. Politically, I don't. Politically, I don't think that she gets elected if she goes further on that subject and says all the things that you, me, and Shanti want her to say. I don't think a ceasefire gets done. I don't think Netanyahu listens. I think she loses her bargaining chips. And I think she loses more of the Democratic base and coalition and those independent voters that she wants. And so the line that she's trying to toe, I think, is the best she can do, is the rhetoric being stronger, is her saying Palestinians deserve a right to self-determination, a two-state solution, a way forward. I think that literally is all she can do, because Israel has the U.S. impotent at this point. While we give them arms, I really feel like they are calling the shot. It's pretty evident that they are. And so I just feel like I didn't think that was her weakest point. It was disappointing for me because I want her to say something, but at the same time, I'm like, she's got to toe this line too, right? I felt like her weakest point was the very beginning. She evaded that answer on the economy, where she just didn't answer it. She started talking about small businesses.
She was, I'm from a middle-class family.
Yeah, I was like, girl. And then she was stuttering.
Let me tell you about me. That's what she did. Right. Let me tell you about me.
She was stuttering at the beginning. She needed some water. I was nervous. I was like, oh man. I thought that was her weakest point. And then as soon as she, came back with the bait and Trump took it, she got her footing. Abortion, she got her footing, right? She was, as soon as abortion came on, she was like, boom, watch me work. But I actually think her strongest, or the thing that impressed me the most, the way she flipped it, was how he was attacking her on the border, and how surgically she came back and talked about the bill that he killed, and then used the line of like, you'd rather run on problems than solve them. You're not for the people. You don't care about the people. And then talked about, you want to criminalize immigrants. You are one of the biggest criminals in this country. You have this case, this case, this case, and your next court appearance is this date. And I was like, okay, boom. I screamed watching that. So I felt like that moment was like a really strong moment for her, even though the rally thing was the first thing that knocked him off when she mentioned his rally size, and kind of fit that in. I thought it was going to be awkward, but she made that rally comment work, like in the placement that she did. It was like, how did you make that work? I think that Trump, just to go back to his weaknesses, obviously he's weak, but I think, wait, that's it. He's weak. He don't have a when he said, I have concepts of a plan, I was just like, bro, when he was talking about insurance and Obamacare and just you have been trying to kill this for years and you still have no plan. Like that's one of the Republic, they have had major wins. I'll give them that. They've been playing the long game and have had major wins when it comes to rolling back rights. Now, they cannot get themselves together around healthcare. And really what it sounds like is Medicare for all is the best plan. Is that's really the plan you want, Trump. But you can't say that because you're a Republican, right? But his biggest strength to me is that he's not currently in office. Because everything that he's talking about is just fluff. It's like, this is what I would do. I'd call Abdul. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? You know, like, this is what I would do. I'd get on the phone with Putin and Zelensky and it'd be done. It would have never happened. You know, that's his thing. The economy would be great if I was there. How? You know, like, what do you mean? All of the economists are saying that your plan would break the middle class, these additional taxes. So I think that's where he benefits the most, is that he's not in a position to have to deal with Israel and Gaza and Palestine. Like, he doesn't have to manage that. He can just say what, and even his response on that was insane. He was like, she hates Jewish people. She hates Palestinians too. It's like, damn, Kamala hates every fucking body.
Right.
Like, what? She's married to a Jewish man. Like, what are we talking about, bro? And his solution was he'd get on the phone and it'd be done. This wasn't happening when he was in office. And that's what he can run on. None of this was happening when I was there. We just had a pandemic, you know, when you were there, you know? And so, not saying that he's caused the pandemic, but his handling of that was atrocious. So,
well, his handling of it made it worse, right? And she brought that
made
up
it
during
far
the
worse.
debates. She brought that
Yeah.
up, right? She said, "Look, we had the worst economy. We had a pandemic that was just completely botched." But then she also talked, when she talked about his economic plan, she baited him again when with Wharton, and he fell for it just masterfully. And it was just, I saw it like, again, I really was watching him unraveling the seams. I went to, we held our own debate party. And when I went to the Democratic Party's watch party, where she ended up coming out and speaking at the end, I guess there was like a section of Penn students that like erupted in applause after she mentioned the Penn line, the Wharton Business School line. And then he's, you know, he retorts with, I have many professor friends and they tout my plan and all of the nonsense that he, you know, espoused. It just showed how he was just grappling at anything. He looked frantic and he looked like he just did not have it together. And he wanted to grapple at any type of accolades that he had or has to say that, like, this is, I deserve this. I am the best. I'm the best leader. I am the best decision maker. And, you know, that's kind of all his policy points are right there. The other thing that I wanted to zero in on that a lot of folks talked about and was a problem of hers, though, a weakness of hers, was that she didn't actually, and this has been a critique I've had about the Biden administration as well. They have really fantastic economic policy points that they could actually be running on and telling and talking about, but they just don't do a great job of talking about it.
They don't message it.
They don't message it. They don't talk to people. They don't run on it. They do it in this like really overarching abstract way.
What
right?
are some of the points?
Yeah.
You could get if you're a homeowner, you could get a free hot water heater through rebate through Biden's Inflation Reduction Act and Infrastructure Acts. You can get new washers and dryers, brand new. Buy them, get rebated 100%, get that money back to you. Right? Right. Get up on stage and say that new hot water heater that you got in your home, thank you to the Biden-Harris administration, because we are helping to give you that quality living that you need. That new washer and dryer, so make sure you don't have to worry about going to the laundromat and you can make sure you can wash, you know, that little baby's clothes. Thank you Biden-Harris administration for providing those rebates to families in need, especially in the aftermath of the pandemic. That was a huge policy win that they just don't talk about. They talk
We
about it
only
in
hear
these
the
abstract
insulin.
ways. Right.
We only
We
hear
hear about
about
the
the
insulin.
insulin and the $2,000, elderly senior citizen cap on prescription drugs, but they don't message anything else.
When the bridge collapsed and on 95, thank you, Shapiro and Pennsylvania. Thank you to Biden-Harris administration for helping to make sure that like they got the support they needed to expedite the repair, like especially in Philly, we won't get nothing fast. The historic repair of 95 collapsing, right? Like run on those things, but they just, I don't know what it is. It's so abstract in the way they communicate some of those wins. We have a saying, right? So at the Working Families Party, we always say we're building the multiracial working class. Well, to the average person, what the fuck does that mean? What does that mean? Right? I'm putting hot water heaters in people's homes. Say that then. I'm getting a single mother a good paying job so she can pay her bills. Say that. Don't say I'm building the multiracial working class. That's political speak. They just don't do a good job of that. And they fail to actually tout a lot of those very specific wins that the administration has been able to enact. This is the most pro-union president of in history, in American history. Talk about that. Talk about some of those wins. They don't get into the details.
I feel like his press secretary does it. Sorry, Shanti. His press secretary does it, but people don't really watch. The average person isn't watching. I forget her name. What's her name?
Karine Jean-Pierre.
Yeah.
Do you think it's strategic because they want to appeal to the more conservative Democrats or the more the Republicans that are less right wing?
No, they just don't know. They just don't like. They just don't know how to
Why
talk
would
to
a
people.
right-wing person not like that? Like what would be the
socialism? Because it's close to Marxism, because it's close to communism. This idea of anybody getting anything is like, you got to work
weird.
for it. We're giving it for free. We can't do that.
No, they just don't know how to talk to average people.
I feel like the last person who did it very well through his storytelling was Barack. He told stories about specific people who needed things, and they got what they needed through his administration. And so he had that connective tissue, that humanity, that have impacted all of us. Tricky. Well, hopefully she gets there. That's such a great point. That is a weakness. She did it with abortion.
Yeah, she was
did.
storytelling. Yeah,
She knocked that out the park.
But again, that was based in the rollback of what took place during the Trump administration. That was not rooted in the wins of what has taken place over the last 4 years under the Biden-Harris administration.
You're right. Great point. Where should we go? Do we want to talk at all about what the response to the debates were, like the public response, like the Fox News, Megyn Kelly? I should have put together a little clip reel of all the Fox News pundits. I have one specifically from Michael Steele that I just loved. I ate it up. He was talking about Trump, and he was like, Trump looks small. He looked withered. He looked beaten. But most importantly, he looked pissed. And there's nothing worse than a pissed bigot on stage with a woman he can't control. And that turned me on. I was like, yes, I was in it. I was like, oh, Michael, talk to me. But what were some of the responses that you all saw from the debate?
I think I saw a number of different responses. I would actually go towards some of the commentary that exists, like both on Twitter with some like organizers that are on the ground, because a lot of them did talk about that missed opportunity to talk about Palestine with Kamala Harris. They really, there was. I saw a. I got to be careful what I'm about to say. I saw a Democratic elected official at the debate, and the first question that they asked for me was, how are y'all organizing people with that voted uncommitted? And this was, I think, what a lot of folks are saying was not that you needed to go further on your rhetoric about Palestine and call it a genocide, but if you're going to mention the horrors of the people that like of what happened to the people after the attack by Hamas, you should do the same with the people who are currently being killed and murdered in Palestine. And it was the comparison between the two that they're like, that's where you lost me. You lost me, and I'm like, all right, I didn't like that. I don't like hearing that, and I'm gonna vote, but I'm holding my nose and voting. I heard a lot of that after like my phone was blowing up because I was in transition between the two watch parties, and it was like,
when that topic came up,
and it was like, I don't like what she's saying about Palestine. I don't like what she's saying.
It was rehearsed. I heard this line for line she had said a couple weeks ago, which again feels inauthentic. It feels very slick. It feels very strategic, which, it doesn't feel like she is really connecting with that uncommitted voter. That's like, say something else. Show us a little bit more that you actually understand, that you actually have some type of plan or even a heart in a way, aside from just being slick at the mouth. That I don't think she did a good job. But with fracking, I think as well, she doubled it. Also kind of doubled down with this. I saw a lot of people on TikTok saying that she sounded like a conservative. Even Trump was like, I'm gonna get you a MAGA hat. Like, what you doing, girl? How she feels about the border, all of that is very, very it's leaning conservative, and I think it does.
What do you mean it's leaning conservative?
Just their whole stance now. Of course, mind you, Trump didn't let that bill pass, so they're doing what they can, but the way that they've decided to handle the border now feels very different from the rhetoric and the promises that were made before, and even what she was talking about. Mind you, they're doing what they could, and the border is bleeding. But like talking about that, really talking about that change, which I think everybody is interested in. It's not that we're holding her feet to the fire and saying that she's not able to change, but it's nurturing and discussing why this change. She could then double down about the bill and how Trump blocked that, and they're trying to do everything that they could do. Fracking, I feel like is dumb. In a climate crisis, it just it makes my heart drop. One, that even just the public's priorities, the fact that the moderators didn't talk about fracking and also name the threat of climate crisis in the same question was like, bruh, this is serious. This is an existential threat to everybody. That I just didn't understand that. And for her to double down and for them to be arguing about who supports it more just felt like, to me, that's when I disassociate and be like, oh, this is all just la la land. These people, I can't put too much hope and faith into this system because it's weird. That's when it gets weird to me.
Let me ask,
and obviously,
for devil's advocate, right? And again, purely political. I'm putting my political strategist hat on. You're in Pennsylvania. This is a swing state that is a must-win state, where fracking is something that many families rely on to sustain themselves. Where the last time you said you were going to ban fracking, you lost. Like the Pennsylvania voters, you lost them. Your shit plummeted. Your campaign tanked. Okay. If she mentions that, what does she say? Because what she's saying is, climate activists, I am dedicated. I believe in climate change. I believe in this existential threat. She is a part of an administration that has done more for climate change than any other administration. Let's be very clear about that. So what she's saying is, fracking is something that I'm no longer interested in banning, because folks have told me that there are other ways to go about combating climate change that are just as effective, right? Because I've dug deep into like her rhetoric on this and her conversation around this. Considering she's in Pennsylvania, what do we want? What would we have wanted her to say and not lose that very critical state that she absolutely needs?
Mention climate change to those dog whistle to the people where that is a deep
She did.
concern. I don't remember. I didn't feel it. I don't remember feeling like either one of them. Again, it felt like an argument about who supported it more. I didn't
Yeah.
feel like she held both of them very well at all. It was like, no,
Okay.
I said this, but I actually
I
feel
think
this.
she's she's
And she's
trying
speaking
to
to the
protect
to the nation.
yeah.
You
I
know,
think she's trying to
Right.
talk about how, because he's going to go into you flip flop on things. And so she's trying to be like, I
and
said this in 2020. I'm not flip flopping. I've been changed my mind
uh,
on this. So to your point, okay, I hear you.
and
That's
that's where I
what you
think
would.
where her weaknesses
Got
is that
it.
she
Okay.
people don't know her. Like that would also offer some humanity and like depth to her versus
Hmm.
this slick, polished. I said it this way and I did it very confidently, and now I'm changing and I'm doing it this very confidently.
I think she doubled down on
Okay.
fracking just a little too hard. Just
Okay.
a little too hard, and she stayed on it a little too long. And I get to your point, right? Like, putting my political strategist hat on, right? Like, it wasn't. That's not a great lane to occupy for too long, and she just
Hmm.
stayed talking about fracking just a little too. Like, she
Okay.
even said fracking too many times. And so make the switch, right? Immediately pivot to, talking about a stronger climate policy, and get away from this conversation around fracking. Trump isn't a strong candidate. He's not going to be able to pick up that attack line and be able to run with it. So just get off of it. And she just, if I was, talking to her, like, my feedback would have been, you said fracking too many times and you talked about it just a little too much. Talk about, again, tout your wins in the administration that you've done around climate. Like, make that
Hmm.
your pivot point. Make that what you need to be talking about, because that is what, although in Pennsylvania, fracking is directly related to access to good paying jobs in certain parts of the states. The vast majority of voters care about what we're doing with the climate.
Climate.
And so talk about the successes that this administration has, talk about what you want to move towards in the future. Don't just talk about, I love fracking. I think it's great. And it was just like, oof, it was rough.
She didn't say she loved
She
it
didn't
and
say,
thought it
she
was
did not
great.
say, she did not say that. But
God
it did
damn.
feel
Felt
like it. It
it.
did
She
feel
doubled
like
down. She was like,
Yeah, I think she was like, "Holy shit," because she knows because she knows Trump says that.
right.
I'm gonna frack all over the goddamn place, and I'm gonna bring back all these jobs, and
If
that's gonna be the first way in which that we fix the economy. And so I think I feel you. She leaned in there. I think now that we're talking about it, another point that I felt was a missed opportunity on her end was gun control, especially in the
mm,
wake of these school shootings.
yes, girl.
Mhm.
Um, I feel like I think that was where Trump, and this is the problem with Trump, right? He's so outlandish, and again, you have to realize I saw someone talking. It was what's his name, the former governor of New Jersey, Bridgegate.
Chris Christie.
Yeah, Christie was on the View, and he was talking about how you have to remember, as crazy and outlandish as Trump is, he has the most experience of anyone for presidential debates.
Mm,
He's been up there, and he does not debate like a typical presidential candidate. So it is so hard to debate him because he throws you off your game, where you spend so much time combating what he just said and not answering your question and getting
mm-hmm,
your own vision across, that
mm-hmm.
it's just so difficult. And so I feel like he did that on the gun control thing, where she's going to take your guns. She said she wanted to do mandatory buyback programs, da, 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 da. And she has changed her stance on that, where, again, she's a part of an administration that got the most progressive gun reform passed, right? But at the same respect, you know, she was like, bro, shut the fuck up. Cause me and my VP, we locked and loaded over here. I got guns. Okay. And like that was a great like boom Twitter moment. But then when I thought about it, I was thinking about the missed opportunity of another
Mm-hmm.
critical state in Georgia, right? Where like you could have
Mm-hmm.
appealed
Mm-hmm.
to these people who are grieving, who are
Mm-hmm.
reeling. And I mean, we just had
Mm-hmm.
another one in Maryland. Like that to me was, I wish you would have, that would have been another moment where you could have come across as you brought your humanity in, come across as soothing, as
Mm-hmm.
nurturing, as guiding us forward, a vision ahead. I don't want to take your
Mm-hmm.
guns. I want to meet you in the middle. I have
Mm-hmm.
guns. I want to
Mm-hmm.
make sure that we are responsible with our guns. And here is my plan for that. I want to further what I've already done and celebrate some of the things that she's been a part of. So that was unfortunate to me after the fact. I was like, damn, girl, he knocked you off. I think there were times when she got knocked off, but she's so polished, and she was, and it's not just polished. And I lean away from saying that she's inauthentic. I think that she was very well prepared, and I think that that is signs of someone who takes it seriously, who also isn't going into it thinking they already won. And that's what I want from a candidate. I appreciated how prepared she showed up and ready to speak to things. And because I can't imagine trying to have Trump, a conversation with Trump, and be able to navigate that and then debate him. Like I just couldn't even imagine it. So long winded, but there you go.
No, I mean that's right. I think that I think she, it's about what does she want to make her umbrella and her path to
Mm-hmm.
victory, right?
Mm-hmm.
Her what all presidential candidates do, especially after primaries, right? She didn't actually have one, and so but when they are going head to head, right? They placate and play and pivot to address the entire nation, right? And the majority of Americans actually own guns, and so it is about how we apply pressure to her on a continual basis to make sure that the rhetoric and the policy reflects like what it means to actually keep us safe, what it means to actually not just double down on the rhetoric, but rather actually have policy and be able to speak to policy that actually moves us forward to have more progressive gun restrictions and gun laws in the country. We ain't worried about what type of gun is going to enter a school. We're not worried about we're going to keep fracking in place because we just want to keep this certain sector of economic jobs and not be able to transition that into more climate responsive jobs, right? And so every presidential candidate immediately goes back to, I'm going to speak to the whole nation. I'm going to talk about, in some ways, the status quo on how we maintain that status quo and making you feel safe. And she had those moments where she does that, and she did that. I was talking to our good friend Marquise about this, and one of the things I mentioned to him was the second someone becomes president, right? They are responsible for all of these wars that we're in, right? And they're responsible for all of these, the bombing of all of these different countries that the United States military is pursuing. And in some cases, they're responsible for being war criminals of that, right? That's the second you put that hand on, the Bible and get sworn into office. And so based on that, they're going to pivot to speak to this, the heart of America, as they like to say, right? And so it's about making sure that we strongly force that umbrella is going to include a progressive section of voters that's going to move you into a direction that's going to be about healing the country from gun violence, that's going to be about healing this country from criminal justice policies that have wrongly targeted and marginalized Black people, and it's going to heal this country from just the horrible economic conditions that working families have to endure and have had to endure for generations.
30 seconds or less. Will the debate change anything and predictions for the election? Shanti.
Um, you know what? I think for a lot, I have no idea. I don't know. I'll say I'll speak for myself. I can't speak. I have no idea what it's going to do for the collective. Um, I feel not changed in what my position was before. I similarly feel kind of like my back's against the wall and a Mack truck is coming, and I'm going to make the best decision for my safety and the safety of my people. I don't feel a lot of affection towards Kamala, to be completely honest,
Kamala.
or Kamala, excuse me. And I just that's just how I feel. I feel like I have to do what I have to do, but I don't feel necessarily inspired
Hmm.
or you know, like yeah, excited either, which I
Okay.
guess will affect my level of hope as well, and I'm aware of that and like holding that and yeah, sitting with it. But
Follow-up
I
question.
what
Sorry. Do you feel activated for something else, to create something else if this isn't inspiring you?
inspired by her?
No, not inspired. If you don't feel inspired by her, right? Or this process, this like situation, do you feel activated to for something else?
Sure,
Okay.
sure,
That's what I thought.
absolutely. Yeah,
Hmm.
I feel engaged. I feel activated. I feel absolutely.
Hmm.
Hmm.
I feel that. I'm sorry I cut you off. Was there something else you wanted to say?
That's it.
Okay. Salah, what you think?
Similar to Shanti, I don't know. I don't have a prediction for this election. I don't think the debate changes much, in terms of like, will someone vote one way or the other?
Hmm.
What I think it changes is it changes the energy of the folks who knew who they were voting for. And I think it has encouraged more people to get much more deeply involved, which does inspire me, which does give me some hope around what we can potentially build. We've been picking up on this saying that, and I want to credit this to our national director Maurice Mitchell. Um, he says, a vote is not a love letter; it's a chess move. This is an
Hmm.
opportunity for us not to fall in love with the candidate, because I don't know you, and I don't want to know you on that level. But rather, how can we use this as a chess move to building that future that we want to see? And in that, I'm inspired by the people who feel energized and are moving in that way. And how can we I go back to what I was saying earlier, which is, how can we get governing power? How can we get governing power in ways that actually affect the changes that we want? It ain't never going to be perfect. It ain't never going to be this like perfect person, because people aren't perfect. They are incredibly imperfect and flawed.
Hmm.
Um, but how do we vote to create the conditions that we want to best work in, especially as organizers, especially as political operative? She presents that best path. And as a lot of organizers and folks are starting to see that, that gives me the inspiration and gives us an opportunity to like really scale, once she's in office, like, keeping and applying that pressure and holding her accountable in ways we've missed and failed to through with previous presidents.
Hmm. Um, well said. I feel like I for a long time I didn't think debates were consequential until Biden's debate, and then I learned very quickly, oh, they are, because he dropped out or was forced out. I think that if she would have performed poorly, it would have mattered quite a bit,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that I have fear around the fact that she was, I want to say, to the vast majority, flawless. That's the rhetoric out there. Unless you're Megyn Kelly and you're just blaming the wonderful moderators that we had. Matter of fact, shout out to Lindsay and David. But the fact that she was as excellent as a political performance,
Mm-hmm.
and still it's neck and neck terrifies me. And so that's why I hopped online and was like, just remember, Hillary Clinton won every single debate and lost that election.
Mm.
So I think it's important that she continues that groundwork, right? That we continue that groundwork of conversation with people, of reaching out to people, and speaking to people in ways that is still authentic to ourselves, but in ways that is digestible. So my prediction is that she does win. I'm saying that.
All
I'm
right.
riding on faith.
Thursday, September 12th.
My
Come
prediction
on.
is that she wins. It's a
Speaking
close
into
race.
existence.
My prediction is that Philly brings it home yet again, the same way they did for Biden. My prediction is that Trump acts a rank ass fool again and says it was all stolen. He already is. And that then his sentencing happens in November and he gets jail time. That's my prediction. That's what I'm speaking.
You think he's gonna get jail time?
I want him to. Even if it's you guys sit your ass at Mar-a-Lago, can't go
House
nowhere
arrest.
for a little while. I'll take house arrest. Even though I don't know. Our homie Jack Smith ain't playing. He like, I'm coming for your fucking head, bro. So we'll see. I don't know. But mostly my prediction is that she pulls it off. He already said there will not be a second debate. I feel like I was disappointed when she said
who said that? She said that,
Trump,
or he said
Trump.
That?
Usually the winner doesn't ask for a second debate. She put
Absolutely
it out there
not.
that she'd do another one, and she kept pushing it, which I was like, girl, no. And then he's using that as this talking point of, I'm the prize fighter. That's why she wants to debate again, because she knows she lost, which is insane. He was doing it today at a rally. I feel like, girl, you had a next to nearly flawless performance. Let's leave it where it is. But I think she wanted more of the opportunity to talk policy. And I think now she's got to get in front of some cameras. She's got to go off script. She's got to sit down with these hard questions and really get to the American people. Trump is doing small, crazy podcasts, but they're not small when he goes on. They're reaching millions and millions of people. And these are the type of things that she needs to do. Like she really, really does. Because we got to learn from Hillary. Hillary ass was like, I won those places. I ain't got to go, but here we are. So we'll see. I have to ask this question. And then Salaah, I want you to tell us how we can remain activated and how we can move forward to put pressure on whatever future president we have. But first, what was the biggest Trump crash out moment for you? What was the one where you was like, oh my God? What did you say?
I mean, it was definitely the eating cats and dogs. Like
it was the pets for you.
It was the pets. Like, so I picked up on this news story before the debate, and like I heard it, and I'm like, man, that's just weird. Like, that's a weird news story to be running with. But then when he said it, I was actually standing next to Marquise, and I was in line because they were giving out T-shirts at the watch party, and I was just like, my mouth was open for like a solid 5 minutes. Like, no, this man did not just say they're eating animals, they're eating cats and dogs, and I just like
they're eating your
pets.
Cited
TV. TV was his source. They're saying it on TV.
They said it on TV. They said I'm hearing it on TV, and then he just kept doubling down on it, and I was like, this man is losing it. He didn't.
The moderator was like, dog,
it.
Ain't nobody eating cats and dogs. Okay, I just want to clarify.
David
that ain't
like,
happening.
He was calm. That's what made it worse. Was David was like, sir, I want to move on. I want to move on. I want to apologize to the Haitian community for that, because that's a horrible thing to say. I did see a Haitian friend of mine. She was like, all these cats getting eaten but mine. And I was like, girl, Shut up. Shut up, please. Anyway, go ahead, Shanti.
I just appreciated the strays that Biden caught. You know,
Yo.
he just be like, you know, you call at 4:00 in the afternoon and you know, he's just getting out of bed. Biden was just catching strays, and I was just like, girl.
When he
I enjoyed it so much.
Shanti, when he said, we have a president that doesn't know if he's alive or not. And I was like, bro, it's not funny at all.
It was good.
Trump on Biden is crazy. I don't know how she kept her face straight. I know she was like, oh my God.
Like 50 Cent when it comes to Biden. He digs in.
My crash out was transgender operations on illegal immigrants in prison.
What?
Yeah.
I said, what in the Cards Against Humanity? They just gave him a bunch of cards and he put them together in a sentence.
In any order.
It's like those were all separate points, Trump, to make.
Why did he say that? And she said, yo, I was like,
dramatic. What
she said? Talk about extreme. Yo, that's the name of this episode: transgender operations on illegal immigrants in prison. We're gonna get flagged. I don't know if we're allowed to write that.
Yeah, that ain't gonna air.
No.
No, that ain't gonna air. That
all
ain't
right,
making
Shanti, that's got to be the summary then. Transgender operations on illegal immigrants in prison, featuring Salaah. Anyway, please, Shanti, do you have anything else? Because I'm about to ask this brother how we can get activated.
Activated. Then I have another question for just one other thing for you to talk about the Working Families Party, so people can understand. We didn't get to that.
Yeah, I mean, they actually both of those are connected to each other.
Let's go then. Come on, bring them together.
So, you know, when I say we're the Working Families Party, a lot of people think that we're just this like group or like nonprofit, but we are a fully formed political party. We are a third political party in this country. We're not the Green Party. That's all I'm going to say on that.
Ciao.
Don't get me started. But we are a third political party. We support progressive Democrats that want to enact policy wants to get governing power and enact policy that uplifts working families. But we also, in certain cases, run our own candidates. That's not a Democrat. That's not a Republican. That's not a Green Party. That it runs on the Working Families Party line only. And so right here in Philadelphia, we have two Working Families Party City Council elected officials. Not candidates, elected officials. That being our two of my friends, people I love very dearly. Our city council member and minority leader, Councilwoman Kendra Brooks, and the minority whip here in Philadelphia City Council, member Nicholas O'Rourke. And so our focus is, how do we build the multiracial working class? How do we organize and be in relationship with people in ways that dismantle sexism, racism, xenophobia, that gets us governing power by organizing, by being in relationships, by being in community, winning elections, and enacting and scaling policy that actually affects those changes. You know, one of the things I love talking about that our city councilwoman was able to pass was and get funded fully here in the Philadelphia City Council is our eviction diversion program, where we're able to do exactly that. You know, save people from these horrible evictions. Right? We believe firmly that housing is a human right. Right? That is not it is not up for debate. It is not questionable. That everybody deserves a quality and affordable place to live. And so through that, people should not be evicted through, they should have eviction protections in place, right? Not just pathways to prevent them from being evicted, but also pathways to when they do reach litigation, they have equal representation just as much as a landlord would, just as much as you would in criminal cases. And that, you know, the next kind of thing that we have been focusing on is when you have faced eviction, that it does not penalize you from finding, again, another quality and affordable place to live. Because oftentimes we know that when you face eviction that goes on your record, that does impact your ability to actually find a place to live in the future. And so that's just some of the things that we've really been able to focus on, and in some cases been able to win right here in Philadelphia. But as a national political party, we find ways to build that community that we want to see, apply pressure to not just in the federal level, but at the state level and in local governments. We are in roughly 27 states across the country. We started in New York. Shout out to New York. But we like to say in Pennsylvania, we're the big dogs now. I love my coworkers in New York.
Yeah.
But the ways we have opportunities for folks to get involved is, our national team has worked, really tirelessly, especially during the primary, around that uncommitted campaign and applying pressure to that Biden administration around ceasefire. Here locally in Philadelphia, we're regularly doing community meetings. We're regularly meeting both in person and virtually to find ways for our communities to get tapped in, whether it be supporting candidates that you want to see elected, or whether it means supporting social justice and policy level issues. We bust 200 people to Harrisburg to make sure we could pass affordable education, in the budget to make sure we got education funded fully across Pennsylvania. And so if you are ever looking to get involved, especially here and with the Working Families Party, I always tell folks, all you got to do is text WFP to 30403. If you're here in Pennsylvania, you can text PA WFP to 30403. That's how you can get connected with organizers that are on the ground, that are doing the work, that are looking for more people to connect with. Because the one thing about us, we work hard. We really do focus on passing legislation and winning elections. But we also like to play hard. We like to have a lot of fun. We have a saying that it ain't no party like the Working Families Party.
Very dope. You have to. Can you send us that? I didn't write that down, but we need to put it in the description for folks so they know exactly where to text. That would be amazing, and I'm gonna do that myself because I need it.
I absolutely can. And our New York team is dope. I mean to shade y'all too much in New York, but I love y'all. But
that's how Philly people are. I get it. I get it. I'm from Philly, so I get it. I always rep Philly. Salaah, you're doing amazing work.
Yeah. Hopefully we can work together. We said it, but I think, to continue having these conversations, even within the community with our listeners and one-on-one, I think is really important as well.
In person, yeah.
I will also say at our Philly office, we've been doing Black Progressive Happy Hours every other Friday. Next one is September 20th.
Is when?
The next one is September 20th. And then every other Friday after.
And I'm in there wearing my
all black.
There we go. Pull up. Pull up.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you coming on, and you're always a gem, but this was invaluable. Thank you. It's an honor to know you, and I thank you for all the work that you're doing. Really, I really do. I really mean it. So I don't know what else to say, but thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just say something? Y'all are really dope, and I just love talking about how I know these two dope ass people. And I truly mean it. I feel like whenever I talk about both of y'all, it's like I'm talking about this real high profile folks that I really feel that. No, I really do. I'm like, yo, I know these really two dope ass people, and I got this amazing ass podcast, and they're just out here doing amazing shit. And I really talk y'all up all the time. So the love goes right back to y'all.
Thank
you.
Real
recognize real, you know what I mean? All right. Have a great weekend. Thank you again. And don't hang up as we
Oh yeah, I have to stop. All right.
Cheers
Peace to
some
the gods.
logistics. The older
Peace,
than
y'all.
now.